Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in to the third episode of The Table. I am your host, The Captain, and I'm joined by our all-star panel today. So glad to have all three of these guys making his triumphant return, not only to the table, but in his 1988 time machine. It is my Rumble brother for life, Matty Laws. You look immaculately 88-ish, sir.
I tried my absolute best to fit in. I bumped into a man on the street. Was he
wearing a white lab coat with some very crazy hair?
He was not, but he was singing a sweet tune. And when I asked him what he thought about the weather today, he told me not to worry, but to be happy.
Nice.
I'm sure he's going to have a great career and not just be a one-hit wonder. Also joining from Wrestling With Your Thoughts, our good buddy Cy, his first appearance on the table. Well, glad to have you in, man. I don't think, have you and I even done a show together? I think we might have done a pay-per-view together at one point.
I think we did, was it the Rumble or Day One? Somewhere around there.
Revolution.
Was it Revolution? I'm thinking Revolution. Start of the year. Yeah, but it's been a while. Thanks for having me on, man.
I would remember.
It's almost gonna be one of those things where it's like like the Tarantino canon. You're like, whose guy's like most appearances, in the movies. So you got your first appearance. Hopefully, you'll become one of our Samuel L. Jacksons. And joining us finally, our great guest of honor, a man who actually attended this event in 1988, called most of the matches, the one and only Tony Schiavone, aka Nick, Wrestling With Your Thoughts, my British brother. How are you, my friend?
Super excited, Cap.
When main event of this show. This was with you. This one's for you, brother.
The main event of this show is the reason I'm a wrestling fan. Without this match, I don't watch professional wrestling. I saw it when I was 5 years old, and I was captivated, and I've been a fan ever since. Sting is my favorite wrestler in the history of professional wrestling. I kind of hate Ric Flair, but I will not knock how good Ric Flair was at his job. So, I'm just excited. I'm excited to be here.
In 45 minutes, he took a guy who was greener than grass.
Yeah.
And in 45 minutes, you're like, this guy is a future world champion.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just how good Flair was at his peak. He can, in one night, he could make you that next big star.
Now I'm going to show my age a little bit here. I have not seen either of these two matches that we are about to watch. So I'm definitely in for a treat if this is Nick's match that made him a wrestling fan.
Yes, yeah. Jimmy, it does take two to replace the King. How can we replace the King without getting two people in? It's just...
the King's out on the water looking for grass, as I understood from his most recent tweet. But we're jumping ahead a little bit in the timeline here. Of course, season one, we're covering sort of the first half of what would become known as WCW. It's 1988. Ted Turner has just bought the promotion, essentially on the back of Ric Flair, because that was the selling point for Turner. Was he didn't really know many of the guys, but he knew Flair, and that was the big thing. Things have kind of fallen off a bit at this point. They had the great run in 85, 86, 87. Things started to kind of go down a little bit. Dusty saved it a little bit with some hot shot booking over the summer of 87, over the Bash Tour. But with any period of hot shotting, there's also a period of, decline.
Downsliding.
But this would be, we're kind of starting an odd period here, because 88 to, I would say roughly 93 is sort of a 5-year window where overall, yes, WCW, NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions is not in the best of health, but you still get some fantastic. It's not like it was where every single match was just a barn burner. You still get some great work by some guys, but overall the product starts to downslide until you finally get to the absolute wreck hole of 1991 when Jim Herd came along. And boy, when we get to Jim Herd, the captain is going to have some fun. Because that guy is way up there on my list of guys who just simply need to walk the plank. But it's March 27th, 1988. This is the very first Clash of Champions. It's not a pay-per-view. This was one, they would be 30 something Clash of Champions by the time they did the last one in August of '97. This would be the very first one. This is free on TV on TBS, and this was WCW's answer to WrestleMania at this point, because this was '88 WrestleMania 4, Hogan, Savage winning the world title. This was their answer to WrestleMania 4, but they put it out for free versus WrestleMania you had to pay for. But we're back in the good old friendly confines of the Greensboro Coliseum, which is, at this time was like the venue for this promotion apart from the Omni in Atlanta. The place is not sold out. There's only 6,000 or so in attendance. Normally, I think it holds, about 16,000 seat, 16,000. So we're at about a third capacity for this versus our first show, Starrcade, the very first Starrcade, when it was packed to the rafters. And also our last episode with Dusty and Flair, packed to the rafters. So, yeah, that's just how bad it's gotten since 1985. In 3 years, they've lost a third of their attendance, and it's only going to keep falling. But we're not going to let that upset us, because we're going to enjoy this. Our appetizer, what we're going to start out with before we get to the big main course here, is, this is also one for Maddie, because Maddie loves tag team wrestling, as a lot of us on the Wrestle Buddy Network do, but he's never seen this. And when I was putting this out, I was like, okay, this has got to be one for Maddie, because he's got to see.
I'm excited.
It is an absolute clinic
in
not only how to have a great tag team match where you've got a limited amount of time, but how to do it on television. It's not like a pay-per-view where you've got 20, 25 minutes. They were given 12 minutes with intros. So when they were working out the plan backstage, if you listen to Cornette, he does a watch along on his podcast, and he explains, it's like, they're only giving us 12 minutes. They're giving the Horsemen, whatever, 20 or something. It's like, okay, we're going to go out there and we are just going to start hot. We are going to bring, we can't outdo Flair, but we know we can be second best tonight. So their mission was to just burn the house down, and they threw everything out there you want to see in a great tag team match. So for those of you watching along, it is Clash of the Champions 1988, Clash of Champions 1. I think they would have 4 that year.
Yeah, they would.
Timestamp is 15:48. Give y'all a little bit of time to get there. I know I've gone on about this. Nick, you are a fan of this match as well. What have I missed that you can add to this?
What's the best way to put it? Timing. This match is an exercise in timing. Timing is something you cannot teach in professional wrestling. You've either got it or you don't. These two teams during this match have the best timing you will ever see in a tag team match.
Bobby
Eaton can literally work a mop and do it well and get a good match. Like, the man was that good, and he was left-handed, random fact, which I absolutely love because I'm left-handed.
As am I.
All the best people are, and the worst, unfortunately.
Was Bobby Eaton the best worker in the promotion at this time, apart from Flair?
Quite possible.
And on some nights he was even better. There were nights when Bobby could outdo Rick.
Bobby Eaton was so good, he went to ECW in 1997 and tore the house down for 15 minutes against Rob Van Dam on a random house show. And he was in his nearly 50 at that point, I think.
Yeah. Bobby unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, or I
think it was last year or 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Very sad losing him. He was one of those guys that I wish had stayed around to become a coach or an agent with one of the promotions, because my God, what that man, when we talk about, the tag team division is down in such and such promotion, well, hire Bobby Eaton and you'll see that get a little bit better a lot quick. Cy, anything you want to add before we get started here?
Just to put a caveat on what you've said.
Zane.
I could not
Alex,
believe Zane just said that.
Alex, do not put up Zane's comments. Right?
We haven't
Zane's
even
comments
started
are
yet.
foolish. They make no sense. He doesn't deserve to have them aired live on YouTube. Do not put up Zane's comments.
I will say,
Zane is our
Courtney,
resident troll on the table.
Courtney, when is your birthday? Like, how soon is it so we can give you a big birthday shout out?
April 8th.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, Bobby Eaton was one of a kind. Like you were saying, he was probably the second best worker in the company at the time. We didn't get Ricky Steamboat back for a few months after this, I don't think.
Well,
but I always say,
he probably stood up.
Oh, we lost Matty's camera.
I always say the same as Nick. Bobby Eaton is the best at making people look like absolute diamonds.
Yeah, and he had the best left hand in the history of professional wrestling.
Yeah,
Nobody throws a punch left-handed like Bobby Eaton. Nobody.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've got to say as well, Bobby Fulton follows me on Twitter, so I will tag him in the show afterwards and see if we can get, some kind of like.
All right, let us dispense with the further commentary. Let's get into this. For all of you, grab your mice, your mises, your clicks, your clacks. It is 15:48. Clash of Champions going to give a countdown. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. Gotta love these 80s graphics.
How young is Jim Cornette there?
Jim Cornette looks like an anatomically impaired Ken doll.
I think he's in his late 20s here.
Yeah.
It's nice to see in the 2 years since the Skywalker's match, both of his ankles have fully healed.
Yeah, well, he tore his ACL was what that was. he took the bump that night, and whew.
Yeah, what a rib. What an absolute rib.
And also, we're mentioning Bobby Eaton, maybe the best mullet in pro wrestling history as well.
The most ironically named man in the history of in professional wrestling, because Bobby Eaton is an ugly mother.
Beautiful Bobby. Bobby and Sweet Stan. I was Cornette was on a podcast once, and they were asking me, between Stan and Rick, who got the most ladies. He said, in quantity, it was Stan. In quality, it was Flair. He's like, whereas Stan would have, 4 or 5 in and out of the room on a given night. Flair would bring in, it was like Stan would have like 5 5s. Flair would have 3 10s. And a very young.
So,
straight to the outside, straight to the brawl.
You said you'd never seen this match, Matty, but have you ever seen the Fantastics at all?
I've seen the Fantastics once.
Right.
The reason the match came about like this is because the Midnight had been working the Dallas territory, and they went there because they thought they were going to get the spot to work with the Von Erichs, but the Freebirds had that pretty well locked up. So for about 6 months while they were there, they wound up working with the Fantastics night after night after night after night. And when they came to WCW, it was like, hey, we work with these guys for 6 months in Dallas. We can go out there and have an absolute barn burner.
Yeah.
And great hip toss.
What a back body drop.
I love how Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross just killed this commentary in a good way.
I've got a pop quiz, if you don't mind, Captain.
Throw it at me.
Yeah, for anyone watching this, if you want to let us know in the comments, and for you guys as well. The Fantastics both appeared in WWF on Raw one time. Who did they face? It was in, I believe, June of '97.
June of '97. I'm guessing maybe Owen and Davey.
I'll give you the answer in 60 seconds. Give people a chance to.
Beautiful Bob and Bodacious Bart.
No.
Cornette getting his shit in.
Which was also in '97.
Managing at that point. Would it have been?
I think Jim was involved. I was trying to remember before. I think he was. But it was Bobby Fulton's last match for 8 years appearing on Raw.
see. I'm trying to think. Vader had gone with Paul Bear at that point, I think, in June of '97.
Great sell job by Bobby Eaton.
You guys are going to hate me when I tell you the answer.
You notice that very
was
subtle
excellent.
behind the back tag.
Si, I already hate you.
You're going to hate me more.
Well, I mean, Nick and Si, you guys kind of are our resident tag team here on Wrestle Buddy.
Highest scoring tag team in the history of the quiz. I'll have.
Yeah, we have the record for the
Yes, you
tag team
guys
quiz.
And yet you didn't invite us back for the season finale. Which we've been meaning to pick a bone with you, young Matthew, about this for quite some time. We come in, we destroy the competition, and then we don't even get invited back for the season finale. I believe
we must have had the record for what, 200 days?
That's like not inviting the Horsemen to the Crockett Cup, man. Come on. That's like leaving the Road Warriors out of a World Tag Title tournament, brother.
This is all true.
When I get you guys on for the next tag team quiz buddies, I will make note of that.
You watch, next time we do it, we'll get absolutely trounced.
Yeah, we won't be as lucky next time.
I will say, though, Zane asked a good question for you guys.
Okay.
Who, in your opinion, is the modern-day Bobby Eaton?
The guy who can get a great match out of anybody, anytime, anywhere.
And David McKinnon said off the top of his head, he would say Cash Wheeler.
I mean, are we strictly talking tag team wrestlers or singles?
I'm assuming, like, as a whole, who, in your opinion, is the modern-day Bobby Eaton?
Modern day Bobby Eaton.
Tag team? I can't deny Cash Wheeler.
People are probably going to hate me for saying this, but Dolph Ziggler.
I was thinking
that ain't
Ziggler.
Far off.
I
was thinking Ziggler.
Ziggler he sells like nobody's business.
Seller.
He can get a great match out of a broom. He generally makes all of his opponents look good.
And he can be hated.
Yeah, he's very good at being hated. And he throws a good right hand.
Oh, Cornette with the table.
Zane said Cesaro is his modern-day Bobby Eaton.
I almost said Seth Rollins, but Seth isn't like Bobby. Like
I already said Seth is my modern-day Macho Man.
Yeah. And Macho, I think, was... Okay, obviously, Macho was a great worker around the board. Bobby, not really anything on the microphone. Mach could work and talk. I'll throw this one that we mentioned, Bobby Eaton. Who's the modern day Arn Anderson? Another guy that could get a great match.
Dax Harwood
on the card.
Yeah, I was about to say, I would probably say Dax. I would definitely say Dax.
Dax Harwood, man. Looks like
Going
him.
back to Bobby Eaton. I've blanked on his name. Help me out here, guys. Who was Buddy Murphy's tag team partner in NXT?
Wesley Blake.
Wesley Blake, I would say. Because he never really made it that high, but he always made his opponents look fantastic.
Blake was the answer to the trivia question that you posed. I don't think we got that.
Yeah, so apologies, it's a trick question. They appeared on Raw in June of '97, and Tommy Richards beat Bobby Fulton in 2 minutes and 48 seconds.
Gotta love those quick in and out 2 minute jobs on Raw back in the day.
Well, that was the standard length for a match on Raw in '97.
What do you mean back in the day? We still get that shit on SmackDown.
Yeah,
it was like that this week. Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it happens nearly as much because, again, in '97, Russo had just joined the booking team. He wasn't like the main guy yet because it was still Cornette, Patterson, Pritchard, but Russo was kind of starting to get his feet wet in there.
I will say, oh, sorry, Gavin.
If you want to see a match that was completely booked by Vince Russo, ding ding ding, 2 minutes of nonsense, ding ding ding. That's a Vince Russo booked match.
Vince Russo's magnum opus is the Deadly Game pay-per-view, Survivor Series '98. That's his magnum opus. He never achieved anything better than that.
Bro,
and that is the most chaos.
It was a tournament, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
We all love tournaments, bro.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would not say that that's the best thing he's done. He's got 2 very good interviews with Andy on our channel. If you guys want to check that out after this.
They are very good interviews.
Yeah. Man, I just love how
That was a
fluid.
good super kick.
Stan Lane actually had a legit karate background. He wasn't a black belt or anything, but he had done a fair amount of martial arts training. And man, his sidekicks, they didn't have the style of Sean. I mean, the super kick's been overdone to no end at this point. But back then, he was like the one guy on the roster, other than Kabuki back in Memphis, or Muda, who could throw those. But his looked convincing. Like, they didn't look like a super kick; they looked like a legit martial arts kick.
Yeah, it looked
Cornette
fluid.
running like a scalded dog. I love it.
Back before the super kick, they used to call it, was it the savant kick?
It's about
Spot kick.
Sabat kick.
Yeah.
Hey, Zane. Zane says to validify your pick, Cy. When Wesley Blake got released last year, Dax referred to him as, and I quote, the modern day Bobby Eaton.
There you go.
Yep.
Maybe
So
that's what put it in my head.
If our modern day Arn Anderson thinks it.
Yeah. I know he was in NXT for what, 8 or 9 years?
Yeah.
Never got called up, but always made everyone look fantastic.
Oh, he got called up with the Forgotten Sons, did he not?
Yeah, he did.
But he wasn't much with them.
Apologies. Yeah, you're right.
Wasn't
Maybe.
really his fault. They were never really used as a stable because the main guy was a racist. But
yeah, look at a very young Randy Peely Anderson there, and I always loved this about WCW referees back in the day. They could rock the mullet, but Peely added an extra touch. He had the earring, so it was just like. He's like, man, this guy this is like 96, 97. Like, he is still rocking that 80s vibe.
no one rocked the mullet like Nick Patrick all the way up to 1997.
Nick Patrick was the mullet man.
I will say this match is a phenomenal example of a heel-led tag team match.
Yep.
And
For a start, you've just had the Fantastics taking a powder on the outside when they're the baby faces. Because they're being so overwhelmed by the absolute class of the Express.
And I actually think Courtney's got a good point. This does remind me of a Grizzled Young Vets tag team match. Like how they work their tag team style.
Yeah.
There's
The
the hot
Vets.
An
tag.
extremely
The Vets
underrated
are
team.
very big fans of the old school stuff, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
There's a spot I don't feel like we see very much anymore. The hot tag that the referee misses. I don't catch that happening as much anymore.
Oh, Cornette.
That'll do
That's
it.
because
Rocket
they're
launcher.
too busy doing Now Can They Coexist.
Nice
Still
finish.
in
Over.
There
Well,
we
see,
go.
Over.
the thing was, Cornette is back in those days when the fans legit wanted to kill him. He loaded his racket up with horseshoes.
Now wait a
dog collar
minute.
chains.
Wait a minute. That other referee's taking those belts
Yep.
away. Oh shit! Continuing the match, I guess.
Yep. He would load up the racket with very hard objects. So when you got hit, you were hoping that the horseshoe or what the chain had maybe slid down or something. Oh god.
That poor ref. Ooh, Corny got
Whipping
the
him
belt
like a
off.
government mule.
Yeah. Oh. And just laying it in.
Yeah. You can
Corny's
hear
got it
those
now.
slaps.
There's nothing quite like the sound of leather hitting flesh. It just, you could feel the sting in it.
Yeah, I like the weight belt spots. Like those
Yeah.
always make
With
me
Hogan.
go, ah.
I think we just.
What I missed? Did Corny take the ref out again? Oh, yep, he did.
He's going to need a new racket after this one.
My subtitles say indistinct.
Subtitles. That's a great idea.
Another thing, if you notice, they've got the steps right there, in front of the, as opposed to being on the corner there. The guys hated that because you see a lot of guys get hurt doing that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So
next time, stamp captain.
next time stamp is going to be, get my Meese over here, going to be 58 minutes and 56 seconds. Before we get there, so I got to go to Maddie first. Your thoughts on this match? Shorter as it was, your thoughts being a tag team guy.
It is a very good example of the blueprint of how heels work their tag team matches. It's a very good example of the psychology it takes to, work the baby faces over to the point where you want them to win so bad. But it also made it good with, the disqualification. Because honestly, that tag partner watching his partner get fucked over for so long, it would drive anyone crazy. And
that's also a classic
believable.
Dusty finish, is the dual referee, which I always loved Dusty Rhodes' finishes, but if he ever overdid a finish at all, it was either the fake referee psych out, or like what he did at Halloween Havoc. I think it was 90, when he had Barry Windham dress up like Sting. And then you saw Sting run back out, like he had been tied up, the classic, switcheroo. That's why I always loved Dusty's booking. Is like, even when he would overdo stuff, it was just like, God, I still love it so much.
Yeah. All right. I always say less is more, but for Dusty, it was always more is more,
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dusty is my, I don't know if he was the greatest booker of all time, but he's my favorite. Because he studied under Mike Graham in Florida. But from that school in Florida, you had Dusty, you had Kevin Sullivan, then you had his son Eddie Graham. Eddie Graham. His son was Mike. Yeah, Eddie Graham was the father. They're kind of like the Von Erichs of Florida, because that family, if you want to, like, yes, the Von Erichs are tragically just history. The Grahams, it's not as plentiful, but it's more sad because it is, shall we say, self-inflicted, for lack of a better phrase. We had a little bit of that with the Von Erichs, but it was a lot more accidental sometimes. With the Grahams, it was by their own hand, unfortunately. But we've had our cheese sticks, our mozzarella sticks, and our marinara dip. We've had our nachos. It's time for the steak and baked potato here.
Are we about to get one of the classic Ric Flair promos?
Not before the match.
Yeah, not before the match. And you'll notice before this thing starts, there's a little bit of humor. If you notice the all-star panel of judges that they put together for this, which just adds, if any of you are familiar with Leave It to Beaver and the Wonder Years.
I used to watch that. I'm, again, going to date myself. I used to watch that when I was a really young kid.
Yeah, well, they had Jason Hervey, who somehow, and Nick, I know you can probably educate us all on this more than I can, but how did that little worm weasel his way into the pro wrestling business to the extent that he did back at this time period?
Honestly, Cap, I haven't got a clue.
It's like he fell in with Eric Bischoff.
It surprises me as much as you do, because he came from, a media background, I think?
Yeah, he was an actor, television producer.
And I don't know, because he had no business in the pro wrestling industry.
None!
To start in the first place. He didn't have a fucking clue what he was doing. But I've no idea how he wormed his way in. My only thought was that he got in good with Ted Turner.
Ted and Bischoff, I don't know what it was, but that was also the second guest, good old Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver. For some reason, it was supposed to be they were doing a reboot of Leave It to Beaver with that character, older, and like, well, this is going to be on TBS. Let's have him on, and he sticks out like a thumb that has just been smashed with a sledgehammer. It's like, what? But he's still got the varsity, the sweater on. It's just like, oh my holy Lord.
Mm.
But anyway, we're going to be at 58, 56 for this.
I've got Ric Flair smiling and the word next on my screen.
So since this is going to be a bit of a long one, going to be 45 minutes Broadway, I'm going to refill my tea. But I'm going to step back while I do that and let our guest of honor, Mr. Nick, tell us, more about this match, because
give us the history.
As much as I love it, he speaks about it far more eloquently than I can. So, Nick, I am turning the show over to you for a few minutes to give us your story on this match.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to watch is the perfect example of how to create a Broadway. This is a match that was a blueprint for Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. This match is the blueprint for Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle in 2003. This match is the blueprint for every Broadway that has ever been ran. There has never been a match. I first watched this match when I was 5 years old. I must have watched this match at least 300 times since I was a kid. There has never been a match in my entire life that does such a good job of telling a story. The story of this match is Sting is green. He's been fighting, he's been proving who he is, and he's going to take his spot from Flair. Flair's story in this match is plain and simple, is you ain't ready for me yet, kid. And that is the point that he proves. But Sting fights and fights and fights, and throughout this match, Flair tells the story of Flair's desperation, his aggravation, his irritation with the fact that he can't put the Stinger away. Starts to get to him, the story starts to change, Sting starts to get the art. I don't want to give too much away, Maddie, because you've never seen this match before, and I could literally talk about it all day. It's
absolutely beautiful. It's so beautiful to hear you talk about this, because you have so much love for this match.
I've never enjoyed a match more than I've enjoyed this match in the 37 years that I've been watching the 36 years I've been watching professional wrestling. The man, this is the reason I am a fan. I can't put it any other way. If this match doesn't exist, my wrestling counter life doesn't ext.
To put it in perspective, I've known Nick maybe, 7, 8, 9 years. Yeah. And I don't remember seeing you as passionate about anything, dude.
Hey, JB3.
It really comes out.
I love this. It's just, I can't put it into words how much this match means to me. I really can't. This match changed the trajectory of my entire life. If it wasn't for this, I'd never have watched pro wrestling. I'd never have got into pro wrestling. But a big 6 foot tall, blonde, flat top guy with face paint made me sit there and go, wow. This match
to add to what you were saying, Nick, I remember when I first saw Sting and Flair wrestle was in, it was November 1995. First time I saw them wrestle, I think it was World War III. Or no, it was a Nitro. They wrestled on Nitro, which set up the World War III thing from Halloween Havoc and whatnot. But anytime those guys wrestled, Shivani always made the comment about the '88 match. Anytime they wrestled, and I kept hearing about it and hearing about it, could never find it anywhere. Then finally, I will say this: thanks to the WWE Network, I finally got to watch this match when the network, finally did, and I was like, "Holy smokes!" Mm-hmm. Now I get why Shivani always referenced that match whenever Flair and Sting would get in the ring. To your other point about Sting, he was out of the Blade Runners at this point. Yeah. You had him and Warrior, Dingo Warrior. When they were in Memphis, a story I heard was that the guys, they were getting in the ring. The guys in the back were gathering around the monitor, and they were like, "Hey, so-and-so, you got to come watch this, man." It's like, "Oh, what? I've never heard of these guys. Like, are they good?" It's like, "No, you'll see." And they would literally have the locker room in stitches at how bad they were. But here was the thing. They were both green, but Warrior was dumber than dirt, or just refused to actually learn. Sting, they were like, "Okay, this guy's green, but he listens, he learns, he's gonna get it. Just give him some time." And that was what Dutch Mantell said about Sting. and also the promoter from Mid-South, Cowboy Watts.
Bill Watts.
Bill Watts, yeah. That was another reason why he kept Sting around and sent Warrior to Dallas.
Yeah.
Who actually, Warrior would be managed at that point by Percy Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bearer, in Dallas, if you want to go and watch some atrocious wrestling there. But Dutch Mantell also said the very same thing about a guy who started in Memphis. Like, yeah, he's green, but he's a quick learner. He's going to be good. That was the Undertaker, Mark Calloway. Yeah. So if you ever want to check out Dutch Mantell online, you know, he had one of the best eyes for talent in the business. He could see, you know, he doesn't quite get it now, but he listens, he learns, he gets a little bit better every night. So I always love anytime I get stories from Dutch.
I will say Dutch Mantell has a phenomenal podcast if you guys haven't heard of it yet.
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
Cy, anything you want to add to this before we get going here? I know Maddie's never seen this, so
I think you've touched on it. With Sting was fresh from Japan, like you say, Rock and Flashes, the Blade Runners, and there's a lot of clips out there. As I plunge into darkness, there's a lot of clips out there with that show the botches from the Blade Runners matches, and I think Sting had a lot more potential than what we saw in Japan, and Flair really did bring the absolute best out of him.
Exactly,
which is what you're going to see in this match.
When you fast forward to a match that we'll cover in a few episodes from now, the Great American Bash 1990, when Flair drops the belt to Sting,
just after the leg injury.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 months after he tore an ACL. 5 months, yeah. When Sting went down, they wanted Flair to drop the belt to Luger at the time. And Flair, in his own nature boy way, essentially said, screw that. I promise the belt to Sting. Brother. He's your next superstar. Yeah. Let's, you know, I'll work with whoever will let Sting get healed up, but I am not dropping the belt to Luger. And then later on in 91, that was another big cause for contention when Flair left, because they still wanted him to drop it. Jim Herd had this fascination with Lex Luger and Sid Vicious. I love them both. Great look, you know, but
they're both terrible wrestlers, Captain.
Yeah.
You could say it.
They're both terrible sellers.
Okay, here's the thing. Luger could have a good match if he was in the ring with a Flair, a Savage. Vicious, it was tough for him to have a good match with anybody. And I love you, Sid. You were always one of my favorites, even though your in-ring work was not that great. But I always loved Sid Vicious. But Luger was like,
HBK was the exception.
Jesus Christ, Sid is so dumb. If it was raining soup, he'd be outside with a fork.
I have half the brain you do.
Right?
I don't know.
The man destroyed his own career by attempting a top rope big boot. He's the most top-heavy Johnny Bravo-shaped wrestler in the history of the business, and he thought, second rope. These spindly-ass legs are going to maintain my entire weight when I land on one thing. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Sid Vicious is the dumbest wrestler in the history of professional wrestling.
And although he wasn't with great big men, today is actually the birthday of one of my all-time favorite big man, Big Sexy Kevin Nash. It's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Kev.
Shout out to Big Sexy there. My last podcast, I caught so much hell because my co-host hates Kevin Nash, thinks he's just the worst thing ever to get between ropes. And I was like, and it was a constant bickering back and forth. I was like, yes, he's kind of gangly. He's not all that well coordinated. He's got half a dozen moves, but he put them together right. He did it in a way that
man took a bottle of Vidal Sassoon in 6 moves and made $1 million career out of it. All right, that's what Kevin Nash did. That's what Kevin Nash did.
I have not heard Vidal Sassoon referenced not only on a wrestling podcast, but referenced period in about 10 years.
I'm old.
Those damn commercials. They used to have those damn commercials with that lady, Vidal Sassoon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. All right.
No, I love Kevin Nash. A lot of people need to realize if it wasn't for Kevin Nash, wrestlers wouldn't get what they get The pay that wrestlers get, the guaranteed contracts that wrestlers get, is because
Scott
of
Hall,
Kevin
too.
Nash and Scott Hall.
Yeah.
Without those
Yeah.
two, they're still screwed over independent contractors working for $50 a night. No medical insurance, no medical cover, no nothing. It's Kevin Nash
Yeah.
and Scott Hall are the reason the wrestlers these days have got guaranteed contracts, and they need to put a bit more respect on his name for that reason.
Yeah, Kevin Nash is actually one of my. If I had like a list of like my top 5 names of guys I want to interview at some point, Nash would be on there because anytime I've seen him, he gives the best he's so cool, calm, and like him on the Broken Skull sessions with Steve Austin. He was talking about when WrestleMania 14 happened, and the next day, Kevin Sullivan's like, Kev, water's getting cold. We hit an ice bag called WrestleMania. He was like, first it was 4-6, 4-2, and then 4-2, 4-6. And the Lakers have won 33 straight. All right. Enough chitter chatter amongst us schmoes. Let's get to this one. Clash of Champions, 58-56. Let's go Broadway, folks. Let's have some fun. Gonna give y'all 5 seconds.
Tell me when you get to 59-22, because that's where the stamp is for this.
Okay. All right. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Broadway. All right. You said 59-52, Nick?
59-22.
59-22. There's Big Goldie.
Best looking belt in the history of wrestling.
I agree.
Yeah, I like that shot or your photo on Twitter, Matt, with Big Goldie. Look at the mustache on Nick.
3, 2, 1, play.
On.
Man, Nick, you were rocking that stash back in the day, brother. I mean,
I had to. There's necessary in the 80s. If you didn't have facial hair, you didn't have respect.
what
I
was it
think
like
you
standing
looked your
next to
best,
a young Jim Ross? I mean, you're looking at the 2 best announcers in the history of the business apart
Oh, yeah.
from, or at least in our era.
Honorable mention, Joey Styles.
Joey, yeah, he doesn't get mentioned enough, and that's sad. And right there, I wasn't even thinking about Joey. Here is our very tall Greensboro Coliseum ring announcer. Holy Lord, look at this
What's your
crew.
timestamp, Captain?
I am at 1 hour 12, 13, 14.
Okay.
Yep. Same.
118? 20?
Yep.
Okay.
He looks like he's come straight from the Wonder Years set, doesn't he?
What in
That's
the
just-
hell are those pants?
I know.
Yeah, I think these are like shell suit pants. I was 11 at the time, and I used to dress like that.
Oh,
Ashamedly so.
I love the fact that Vince is so cheap he won't pay for Sting's original music, so he puts this garbage over the top.
Yep. Because I was not a huge fan of Surfer Sting, but I loved, always loved Surfer Sting's music because when it hit, that crowd would pop. It had the energy to it.
Man called Sting, man.
And we'll see a little bit later. There's a few more Sting matches we'll be covering. Obviously, we're covering WCW 83 to 2001 over the next 2 years. So we're going to see Sting a lot, and we're going to see the evolution of Sting. And it's pretty phenomenal to see just how good he gets, how the attire changes, how, it's a phenomenal career to watch in its span.
I've said a few times, for me, Sting, along with Chris Jericho, they're kind of like the Madonna of the wrestling world because they're constantly reinventing themselves, for the current trends, the current fashion, just to stay relevant. And
Serious
yeah,
place unfair. The man knows he's here to work, and he knows he's here to
It's a
work
lot of-
long.
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Look how majestic Ric Flair looks. Oh my God.
I love this white
When a
robe. I
world
don't
champion
know
walks
why
the aisle, referee lift her up, brother.
Yeah. Why Flair didn't...
That
I never
white
saw him wear this
robe,
white
the
robe
long
very often.
mullet.
I love it. JJ, get in this cage. Get in this cage now. The angle that will never be explained. But for some reason, they had to put JJ Dillon in a shark cage because he just wouldn't stop interfering.
I
And it wasn't even
call that
Shark
a
Week, was
mullet.
it?
I would say that's
No.
just a long hair. That's just good long hair.
See, Enzo Amore thought he had it bad. Imagine how unsafe that cane was in the 80s.
Well, the thing is, he had to stay in that
Get
thing
tetanus
for
if you
45
move wrong.
minutes.
Yeah, just hanging there, swinging from side to side.
Well, also, and it sucks because I'm not a big fan of the manager in the cage angle. Sometimes it works. But when you got, like, it worked when they put Paul Bearer in the cage at Survivor Series 96. That worked. Paul Bearer, loved Percy, loved Bill Moody, was not a mover, shall we say. J.J. Dillon, Jim Cornette, those were active, moving around the ring managers.
Yeah.
And it buries them. Like, you could put Paul Bearer in a cage, fine. But J.J., there's only so much you can do. And they would bring this thing back when they had RoboCop show up and bend the bars. You want to talk about another god-awful event.
Just to put it into context how much it meant for Sting to wrestle Flair in this match, he did an interview in about 2000, 2001 where he was talking about it. And he said, "You'd never know it to look at me, but I have never been more nervous than I was in that Clash 88. Like, if you look at Sting, he doesn't look nervous until he starts wrestling. Then you can see the nerves setting.
Is he starting to shake a little bit?
Well, it's also,
and Flair was larger than life at this point.
Oh, yeah. Well, because Sting knew, like, this is my, if I blow this, I'm never going to get a shot again. Because
this is his chance.
Nationwide television.
First fall or a 45-minute time limit.
Because, it's like, he trusts Flair. He knows Flair's going to make him look as good as he possibly can. But Sting has to also do his part. And he knows that I think that's where the nerves had to be. Because, like, this is Ric friggin' Flair. This is the NWA World Title. This is TBS. This is the Greensboro Coliseum. It's like, how much more can we pile on top of this kid's shoulders?
Well, like you say, this was their WrestleMania. It was their answer to it.
Look at
and the great Tommy Young, the greatest referee of all time. And funny story about Tommy Young, he was one of the first openly gay guys in the wrestling business. And he was having a conversation at one point with Bobby Heenan. And Heenan asked him something like, what's it like? He's like, well, I say I'm gay, but I'm not practicing. Then how do you know you are? Oh.
Even the attire that they're both wearing in this match, purple with the gold and the black playing off it, it's such a good contrast. It sets up everything in this match. I know I'm just fanboying out here, but everything in this match is a perfect storm. It was the right place, it was the right time, it was the right audience, it was the right opponent. Everything works.
The thing I would tell people to really watch here, this is 88. Sting tears his ACL in February of 1990. And he healed up pretty well. Like, he got a lot of his spring back, but he didn't quite. He got to about 85-90% of what he was. You watch him at this point, like, he has got, verticals that NBA players would love to have. He has got such spring in his legs, like Michaels. I think about Michaels early in his career.
Yeah. The Sting's drop kicks at this point were just
the best.
Chef's kiss.
I still say even after the ACL, he had the best drop kicks in wrestling.
Yeah.
Weirdly, at this point of his career, when I was watching John Cena in 2003, 2004, he always reminded me of this Sting. Do any of you guys see that, or is that just me? The build, the mannerisms, the professionalism.
No, I can see that. I can see that in the sense of it's a young guy, built like he's made out of granite, very athletic, good on the microphone,
very over,
a lot of charisma, very over. There's a lot of parallels there, but that's about as far as it goes. I think with the comparison to John Cena, Sting and Cena are different kettles of fish.
With Sting, I can see the superstardom to come, but he's like 2004 to 2014 was like kind of my dark period. I totally checked out of wrestling for a decade. But I remember
Flair's the best at this spot.
Oh yeah. But I remember WrestleMania 20 when Cena and Big Show faced off, And Cena was kind of, he was the U.S. champion. He was building some steam, and I was just like, I do not see why Vince is pushing this guy. Like, I just do not get it.
No. See, back in 2004,
Yeah.
I think it was Judgment Day. I was sat watching it with the boys, and me and my brother turned around and went, "Trust me, those two guys, meaning Randy Orton and John Cena, are going to be the future of this company."
Oh, I knew Orton was going to be, but I was just like, this Cena guy, I just don't really see it. But hey, I'm not Dutch Mantel, so I can't spot talent. Man, Flair, and the other thing you notice with Flair, they know how long this match is going to go. They pace it so well. Flair just he understood, like, you got to have your hot spots in there to keep the crowd going, but he just understood how to pace this thing. I mean, because Flair's cardio is legendary. He and Steamboat once went 90 minutes.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, I think it was. Sting had never done a match nearly of this length, so Flair knew he had the card, but he had to pace it for Sting as well to not wear him out, to leave him with enough gas at the end when he makes his big comeback. Yeah, and Sting's face paint here, I love the comment you made, how it's just a great contrast to the purple.
Mm-hmm.
But that dude that Sting's got is just, it's like a combination mullet, rat tail,
meets Jedi.
Top. Yeah, it's just like, it's something to kind of, I would think of.
Look
it is, yeah. Phantom Menace Sting.
That. Boom. The leapfrog into the gorilla press. It's like, I remember watching a Ric Flair interview, and Sting, when they were coming into this match, they'd had this match all over the territories at this point by about 16 times. And Sting when he came into the match, he turned around and said, "Are we not going to change things up?" Flair went, "Wheels ain't broke, baby. We don't need to fix shit." And they just run the same match back that they've ran now in the different territories for months. But they know it so well. Yet there's little nuances, little timing changes, little switch ups that they do during this match, which completely changes it from the originals. And it's just tiny, tiny things, like the way Flair will take a bump as opposed to the way he used to take it, or how quickly he'll get up from that bump. It's so good.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you for the welcome back, Courtney.
Pretty good. Not as much as Nick, but man, it just, when you mentioned, that they had worked, this through the territory, having this match multiple times, that's something that the guys these days, and it's not their fault, they don't have the advantage of having worked different territories, because every territory had its own style, and back then, by the time you would work 5, 6, 7 different territories, and by the time you got, some years under your belt, you could work any kind of style if you were good.
Yeah.
And that's something that the guys don't have that advantage anymore.
Well, you do. There was a certain semblance of it in the mid 2000s, because there were lots of different places to work that weren't WWE.
Agreed.
I mean, none of them were the big stage, but they all had like Ring of Honor, TNA, New Japan, AAA, CMML. They all have a different way of presenting professional wrestling. And if you travel those routes now, you still pick up on these different styles. That's, I think, one of the reasons why Bryan Danielson is so good. Because he's wrestled everywhere against everyone, against every conceivable style.
Done it well.
Exactly. And now he's just able to adapt naturally to whoever he gets put in the ring with. Chris Benoit was another one that was exceedingly good at it in his day.
Yes.
Regardless of what happened at the end of his horrible tragedy, you can't take away from what the man was capable of doing in the ring.
In the ring.
Well, it's like, have you ever seen a bad Bryan Danielson or a bad Chris Benoit match?
No.
Benoit had got a match out of Sid, for God's sake.
Oh God, Super Brawl that year! Holy jumping Jesus!
It's like I said in our group. It's like I said in our group chat. My praise for Benoit ends at the end of his wrestling career.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you cannot take away from what he did in the ring.
No.
Because Royal Rumble 2004 is my all-time favorite Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I watched that on repeat for years.
Yeah. You like it over 97 or 92?
150%.
I've never heard that take before. I might need to go back and watch that Rumble.
I love the 2004 Rumble.
It was also the
Royal
last
Rumbles.
wrestling VHS I ever bought. I've still got it in
The two Royal Rumbles
vault
that I put as my top two, and it's 100% bias because I had both of them on VHS and I watched them religiously. It is Royal Rumble 2004. The entire show. There's not a bad match on the card.
Yeah, it's
you might not like Brock Lesnar versus Hardcore Holly, but that's a good match.
Yeah.
But the other one is Royal Rumble 2002. You have everything from a crazy, fast-paced tag team match with Taz and Spike Dudley of all people versus the Dudley Boys. But then you have the match between The Rock and Chris Jericho. That is an excellent masterclass in heel psychology versus the overpowered babyface.
Yeah.
I probably need to go back and watch 2004. I've always had thought 92 and 97 were kind of like 1A, 1B. Then 2001 and
2001's phenomenal, but 2004 just holds so much more sentiment to me. Plus,
I love the Rumble in 2000. But it's got nothing to do with the Rumble match. It's all because of Cactus Jack and Triple H. It's my favorite WWE wrestling match.
I take my friends back to watch that match because it makes everyone else feel uncomfortable. I love that. I've shown my roommate. There was a match during Tournament of Death.
Oh, Mrs. Rock.
It was I cannot remember who it was. I swear it was Schlack versus someone else. But there was a pile driver onto a cinder block that split this man's head wide open. And my roommate was yelling at the TV, "Stop the match."
Man, that last drop kick Sting threw. He had to have gotten 7 feet in the air.
Yeah, Sting is getting up there for those drop kicks. This has been a master class on how to get the first, 10, 15 minutes through the Iron Man done?
Yeah.
And
Sting bounced back in the ring.
Where did that color come from? Is that all from Chops?
Yeah. That's the best thing about this match is we know it's a Broadway. We all know this match ends
at this
time
point
of a
we
draw.
know it's going into a Broadway.
But the whole match doesn't come across as if it's going to end in a Broadway.
Exactly.
All the way through it looks like Flair's going to win or Sting's going to win.
This is the first match between Sting and Flair, correct?
Right. Well, the first, that we saw.
It's the first promoted televised match.
So, in people's opinions at this time, like you said, Sting is coming in as the greenhorn. Nobody was expecting Sting to even have a fighting chance against Flair, let alone take him the distance to 45 minutes.
No, not a clue. They didn't have a chance.
But
Sting's popularity had skyrocketed at this point.
And you said he was in a tag team before this, correct?
Yeah, he was in the Blade Runners with the Ultimate Warrior.
On paper, that's the most hyped tag team of all time.
It explains why they both kept the same face paint.
Warrior every night to working with Ric Flair every night. That's literally from the outhouse to the penthouse.
Yeah. And Warrior went off and became the Dingo Warrior. Tried to make some money elsewhere until Vince saw him and went, "He's the Ultimate Warrior."
Right.
Well, Warrior was already in WWF, wasn't he?
In San Francisco, made it to
he was
Memphis.
the Dingo Warrior at this point.
Couldn't hang in Mid-South, went to Dallas, and then Vince. So he worked 5 different territories before Vince saw him.
Yeah.
And he sucked in every one of them.
Yeah.
So in 1988, which WrestleMania were we at this time?
WrestleMania 4. Savage and DiBiase. It was
and
the tournament.
Ultimate Warrior against Billy Jack Hayes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Whew. And then 89, we would get Hogan and Savage.
I know that one.
But yeah, this was that one was Savage and DiBiase that made it to the finals there.
Okay.
Man, look at Sting's chest. Flair has
I was about to say,
him. There's still more that. By the end of this match, Sting looks like he needs a transfusion or something.
He's bright purple.
Is
Yeah.
it the tan that's keeping him from being so dark right now? Because in vaulter matches, it is ridiculous how dark he gets people's chests.
Yeah. See what he did to Ludwig on SmackDown.
No, yes, I did, and I showed my roommate that, and
It was the only good part of the show.
no, it is the first time I've seen German spoken that my English ass could understand what he was saying. Stand up and face me.
I mean, if it
Anytime
leads
I
to
hear
a
Ludwig, I
SummerSlam
think
match
of
with
Ludwig Borga.
Nakamura.
You remember Ludwig Borga? Good sweet lord.
Unfortunately, yes, I do remember Ludwig Borga, or as I like to call him, Finland's answer to Brock Lesnar.
I remember SummerSlam '93, him and Marty Jannetty.
Yeah.
And I was just like, my God, Marty, you've gone from working with HBK to this. And then,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
Ludwig was
and then
never
it only
going to be a
unfortunately
star.
got worse because then we got Yoko and Luger, which is like, you just want to gouge your eyeballs out about 5 minutes into it.
Lex celebrated like he'd won the world title. There were balloons, there was confetti, there was people lifting
for
him
a
up on their
count out
shoulders
victory.
for a count out victory.
But that
You can't make it
that
up.
match is a testament to how good Yoko was that people just don't really give him enough credit for.
Oh, Yoko's underrated.
Yeah, Yoko got a good match out of Lex Luger, that 500-pound, just humongous human being. When
That
he was
Bret
still,
Hart couldn't get a good match out of.
When Yoko was younger, when he was still down around 300-400, he can move, like he can still go.
Yeah.
Yoko's problem was he liked KFC too much.
Yeah, he had more mobility at 400 pounds than Luger did at 270.
Yoko to me is like Andre the Giant. You know, you see him with the world titles, and he was past his prime. You go back before that and watch some earlier matches, and he was actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, Andre.
I forget what his name was. Was it something Maximus? Wasn't it? I forget.
Gone down to the mat, still hasn't released the bear hug. It's such a good spot.
Yeah, you don't see that ever anymore.
So we're what?
I didn't realize
15
I was
minutes
muted.
in. We say 20 minutes in.
Yeah, it must be. It's
That's
about
it.
20 minutes now. Yeah.
I heard the timekeeper in the background, so I was.
Yeah, we're 21 minutes in.
So yeah, still another 25 minutes of this to go. So we're sort of at halftime.
Back.
What is your guys' time step?
I
am on 1:20:25.
I am at 1:20:30, so I'm slightly ahead of you. I will not say anything.
No spoilers, dude.
Oh God, my back!
Big ass elbow.
Flair is the greatest seller of all time, perhaps.
I would say either him or Michaels. They're pretty close for me. God, Sting, when he did the chest pound, it was just like, all right, here we, and that the elevation he got on that elbow. Holy moly. Oh, and the Flair flop. God, I hope Flair doesn't have a cardiac in the ring with this upcoming debauchery.
I got to say about that card, it's a pretty good card, except for the main event. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was lucky enough to be at WrestleMania in 2008, 11th row to see Ric Flair's retirement match against Shawn Michaels.
Oh,
and as far as I'm concerned, that was where it should have ended. You know, 15 years later with a pacemaker fitted. I don't want to see that, and I'm a huge Ric Flair fan. I just don't want to see it.
I'm not a huge Ric Flair fan. And quite frankly, that old ass bastard needs to let it go, sit down on the sidelines, and let his daughter carry on the legacy. Because right now, all he's doing is besmirching his own legacy. The last wrestler that got in the ring with a pacemaker was Silver King, and he died.
Did you guys see the price he's charging for this final match?
No.
Yep.
I saw the pay-per-view was
$200-something
for a ticket.
No, to watch it on Fight.
Yeah,
You
you've made the same
joking?
mistake as me there, Matt. I believe that's for it's like one of those GCW shows with the collective. So I believe
Oh,
that's
so
for
you're
like
paying for an
8
entire
shows.
thing.
Yeah.
I think you can get it individually for about 30, but I'm not
Okay.
100% on that.
Okay. I was about to say,
I
that'd
think
be
so.
absolutely ridiculous.
I thought the same when I saw the advert. Yeah.
The one thing I'll say is, if anyone can surprise us, it might be Nature Boy. He may give us something that we didn't expect. I'm not anticipating it.
Not at 74, he's not, mate.
I'm not anticipating it. I'm just saying I won't
Do
be
we
shocked if
even know who
Flair
he's
gives us
facing?
something that we were not
No.
expecting.
What, like
We
him
don't know
having
the
a heart
opponent
attack?
yet. Let's be honest. I think it's got to be Jay Lethal, hasn't it?
Well, it's a 6-man tag. It's him and the Rock and Roll Express or him
Yeah, but here's the thing. Rock and Roll Express have been asked about this last match and said we've not been invited.
Really?
FTR were asked about it at the press conference after Forbidden Door. They said they don't know anything about it. Ricky Steamboat, who was supposed to be the original opponent, turned around and said, I want nothing to do with the match because I don't want to damage my legacy.
Very smart, Ricky.
Understandable, Ricky.
Oh, speaking of, that's the next episode of the table. Episode 4, we're going to see Flair and Steamboat.
Oh,
And
Nice.
we are going to. I may cream my jeans because Flair and Steamboat, to me, that trilogy in '89 is the best. That to me is that's the masterclass.
Oh,
you
perfect,
cannot
Nitro.
top that.
To me, Flair's best match was that 2 out of 3 falls with Steamboat. That's my favourite Flair match. But yeah, the whole trilogy was great.
Yeah. So yeah, and quick little trailer. After this, we're going to see Flair and Steamboat on episode 4, and that's going to be, whew.
That's their first one, correct?
No, it's. I think I haven't decided if I want to do the 2 out of 3 or the climax at Chi-Town Rumble.
Chi-Town Rumble, it's well better.
That one,
because
is
that's
a
also where
masterclass.
Terry Funk pulls the greatest Terry Funk move of all time and pile drives Flair through a table after the damn match.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You banana nose.
25 minutes.
I'd say maybe I should put him through a table. See, and that's another thing why Sami Zayn has just grown on me, because he is just the modern day Terry Funk to me. At first, I was like, "Who is this goof?" And then after a while, it's like he's got that funk vibe that it's like I can't turn away. I love it. It's like if I'm in a bar fight, Terry Funk would have been one of those guys I want. Give me Piper, give me Funk, give me, Jake Roberts. Give me that was my all-time. We did on the show. It was like a fall brawl. Like who would be our ultimate War Games team? If I was in a legit bar fight, I want Ming and Barbarian.
You
Did I
definitely want
just
Hacker.
notice a rat tail?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
It was like the 99 Phantom Menace Ewan McGregor haircut.
Yeah.
And again, the reason I love these old NWA matches, no padding on the outside.
None whatsoever. Just concrete.
Yeah.
And wires in the ropes as well.
And like I said last night, Maddie, I think you and Dan do need to have the match. We just got to decide what would be the appropriate style. But please don't take my suggestion of the tuxedo match. I don't want to see that.
For the Wrestle Buddy Haters Club.
Put me and Nick on commentary on the
that'd be great.
At ringside. Put Maddie and Dan, in a cage or a death match or something, and just sit back and watch the fireworks.
I reckon you could hit him over the head with light tubes till he passed out, Matt. You'd be fine.
And rip that stash off. Sorry, Dan. We got to get Dan on here, man. He cracks me up.
Oh, big
I love
clothesline
Dan.
to the post.
Sting is just...
Doesn't just clothesline the ring post. Flying clotheslines the ring post because it looks more impactful.
something you mentioned, Nick, in your preview of this, the pacing and the timing of how they do this. Flair makes you think that, Sting is beat. And then he rebounds. Yep. He's beat. Then he rebounds. And it's like, I cannot put this guy away.
Yeah. It's that, like, the whole story is, I am better than you. I know I'm better than you. But for some frickin' reason, you just won't stay down. It's fantastic because it's the heel trying to put the plucky babyface in their place, which is a story you don't get anymore. You either get the heel just outright squashing the babyface because the babyface hasn't been built up enough, they get Roman Reigns, or you have the cowardly heel storyline.
Although I could see, from SmackDown last night, I could see something like that between Theory and Roman, maybe. Roman, could be the Flair trying to put
God's
down
honest
Theory.
truth. God's honest truth. I think Theory's going to either cash in at SummerSlam and then just run away. When Brock rises from the dead, he's just going to get terrified and run away. Or he's going to cash in and Roman's just going to beat his ass.
I saw Jimmy come up with a good theory today as well. Because SummerSlam, obviously, you got Brock against Roman. What if Heyman did a Heyman swerve and went with Austin Theory?
I heard
Wouldn't
about
surprise
that
me.
on Twitter, and I would.
Yeah.
If we're doing the live stream for that, I'm probably gonna scream.
Credit to Jimmy for that one, like I say, but I think it's a great idea.
No, that's a good idea.
I cannot think of a single angle I've seen Paul Heyman involved in that I was not like, that was awesome. That was genius.
Yeah.
Curtis Axel.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Mr. Perfect's kid. They made him a Paul Heyman guy, and it did not go well.
He won the IC belt on Father's Day.
Yeah, he won the IC belt on Father's Day, then he lost it less than a month later.
I may have to go back and look at that because,
Scorpion. Flag gets to the ropes.
It's kind of easy to forget that JJ's been in that shark cage all along. 25 minutes.
He's just been hanging there.
Now,
what if he needs the bathroom,
I haven't seen a lot of
what if
these
he has
older
to...
Ric Flair matches, so I don't know how much J.J. Dillon actually plays a part in his matches.
Well, he was the manager of the Horsemen, and JJ
and at this point interfered constantly. J.J. Dillon interfered in every single Ric Flair match at least once, because that was his job.
That original lineup of Flair, Blanchard, Arn, Barry, and JJ.
Yeah,
I don't think a faction could touch that, and that's NWO, DX. That faction of the Horsemen was just perfect.
Oh, big knife edge.
Good thing JJ's wearing dark pants.
I think, probably my favorite incarnation though was the comeback in '98 with Benoit, Malenko, and McMichael. That was a great Horseman.
And
the Flair bump. Oh, I love those.
Were you not a fan of Mongo and Mongo, Pillman, Arn, and Flair? That was...
And Jarrett, no.
Oh, yeah.
That was terrible.
Mongo.
I liked it with Benoit and Malenko in the Horsemen. Yeah. That was cool, but Mongo was still there, so it kind of ruined the entire thing.
Did Sting just smash his head against that guardrail as he flew out?
Yes, he did.
Yep. Oh.
No wonder he looked so shaken after that.
That's
but he's
concussion.
Like you said earlier, he's so pugnacious, particularly in this match.
Yeah. Look, straight at the top.
I suffered a concussion last October, and
that is the craziest no-sell of a stun gun I've ever seen.
It knocks you.
Nope. Nope, not doing it. Going up top. Not taking it today, Rick. Just going up top.
He can't put him away.
Into the knee breaker.
I think
Classic
Sting may have
Flair.
lost a little bit of concentration there.
Now Flair starts going for the first figure four. Now Flair starts going and lurking on the lower leg because he knows time's
That's
running out.
always
He
the
doesn't have a
start.
choice.
It's either the knee breaker or a chop block, isn't it, that starts the setup.
Yep. Oh.
In your guys' opinion, what is the greatest submission hold in pro wrestling history?
Bret
Sharpshooter.
Hart sharpshooter.
Scorpion Deathlock Sharpshooter.
Well, see, here was the thing.
Y'all have no respect for the ankle lock.
Brett.
No, I like the ankle lock, but it's
Brett
not
put
a
it in.
Scorpion Deathlock.
Brett did the sharpshooter.
Don't get me
with
wrong,
his
I love
left
Ken
leg.
Shamrock.
Sting did it with his right leg.
Right leg. Yeah, that was the
big
difference.
But you also, Brett kind of did almost like a Texas cloverleaf kind of thing. Sting just crossed the legs and.
Well, Brett would grip you underneath your knees.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah, but
Sting
the
would
thing
hold
is,
you on
you
the ankles
also
and the
had-
thigh.
You also had Rock and Michaels not making it look as good.
Oh God.
The Rock sharpshooter is
with-
terrible.
With
Like,
the
it's
ankle
atrocious.
lock, with
Him
the
trying to
ankle
put
lock,
Hogan in
you
the
had
sharpshooter
3
at
people that did
WrestleMania
it.
is painful. It's the one spot in that match I'm just like, for the love of God, Rock, get out of this.
With
Don't get me wrong.
the ankle lock, you had 3 people that did it and did it look that made it look good.
Shamrock
Well, yeah,
did it with
Shamrock.
Shamrock
Angle.
and Swagger.
No, you
Shamrock
see,
and-
I
Yeah.
hate Swagger's
Yeah,
ankle
good
lock.
call.
I thought his ankle lock was really good.
It would be if he wasn't so tall. So, see, the thing with an ankle lock is
If he
it requires
grapevine
the
leg-
foot to be at this angle and then twisted. Swagger is so tall that everybody's foot was like this, so
So
there's
if
no
he-
twist to it, so it doesn't look as painful.
But if he was able to grapevine the leg, it would look much better.
Yes.
So whenever he did it on the one knee, it looked so believable. But he
Another
didn't
great
do it on the one
sharpshooter
knee
was
very much.
Here comes the chop block.
so another great guy to do the sharpshooter was Ronnie Garvin.
True.
First time I think I saw it used.
Ronnie Garvin and Flair, their cage match for
Mark
the world
Haskins
title
does a fantastic
in,
sharpshooter.
was
Yes,
it
he
November
does.
of 87? November 87, Flair and Garvin in a
Starcade
cage.
4, wasn't it? So no,
it
5.
was the one before that. It was the one before Starcade, I think. It was their match before
Oh,
Oh,
what was it called? That was one of those one-off names, wasn't it?
that. Yeah,
like the Chi-Town show.
yeah.
I'd have to Google it.
It was like Starcade. Flair got the belt back. Garvin had beaten him for it in that cage match, and then Starcade Flair got the
The
belt
one the
back.
month before. Yep.
Yeah.
Now they don't. No, neither of these guys look ridiculously worn out either.
No, Flair had the car.
They've-
At this point, Flair had the cardio of a racehorse, man.
They've
and
been
Sting
able
had
to,
so many gears in his box you couldn't count them.
Yeah.
been able to keep their pace so steady that they haven't
Mhm.
been able to. I love that spot where he grabs the ropes
Mhm.
and he's explained
he-
it why he does it as well.
He lets go when the referee looks.
It's brilliant.
It's just
Look,
added
there we go
leverage.
again.
Yeah.
You don't see this anymore, do you?
Flair could get on in the gym, like they said, he could get on the Stairmaster and go 30, 40 minutes an hour on a Stairmaster, and just
Easily.
yeah, it's just it's amazing. The guy just was inhuman in terms of his endurance.
Isn't that why they called it Space Mountain?
Oh,
Gas tank for days.
there's a very good Tony Schiavone story about Space Mountain that I can't tell on this program.
No,
I
you
know
can't.
that story that you. Yeah, I know that story that you can't
Yeah.
tell. It's great.
So anyone, if you ever want to look up Tony Schiavone telling the Ric Flair's bedroom Space Mountain story, it is
Hilarious.
it's exactly what you would expect Flair to do. You're like, yeah, that's Flair, but when you hear that, it's like, my God, all the legends are true.
Now, I have a question for you guys. Because I had a friend once tell me that the figure 4 does
He's
not
powering
hurt.
out of that.
No, it does.
Yeah,
It
it
does.
does.
It does.
So I put him in it to show him just how much it really hurts. Have you guys ever had a friend tell you that doesn't hurt? Try it on me, and you guys have successfully put them in it and shown them that it doesn't.
I've been
in one.
It's all about the
I've been in
all
one.
about where you line the leg up over the knee and the amount of pressure you put on the ankle. It's all
Where
about,
it got me was literally on the shin. You know, after it was taken off
Nice.
for about half an hour, I couldn't feel my shin.
Oh, he
It
reversed, he
wasn't the
reversed the
figure
pressure.
4. I was in school. I was about 8 years old. And my friend Lewis Cunningham said sleeper holds aren't real, they don't work. So I
Nah.
put him in a sleeper. And I got suspended for a month.
So
Because
Yeah,
I
it's the kind of stuff that gets you banned from TikTok nowadays.
Yeah.
I have a funny story about that. Me and my brother have trained each other in submissions and stuff
You guys
like
have
that.
trained each other in pure beat the living hell out of each other.
Yes,
That's
we
what
That's
have.
what you've trained in.
But there is one time where we're getting ready for bed. We're both going to the room, and in the hallway, I just like get him in a chokehold, and I'm like, "Okay, are you ready?" And he acknowledges that he is in fact ready. So I squeeze once, and he becomes dead weight. I
Yeah.
slowly lay him down, and I'm like, he's got to be joking. So I go lay down. I'm on my phone for about 15 fucking minutes.
Still on the floor.
This boy has not moved.
Yeah.
I go over there, and I'm like, oh, God, I think I've killed him. So I roll him over. I slap him across the face, and he wakes up. And I'm like, come on, come to bed. And we go to bed. It is the single time that I swear to God I've killed my brother, other than me dead weighting him on a Walls of Jericho. He tried to put me in the Boston Crab. I dead weighted my legs, and he went face first into the couch and started snoring.
Wow.
Is any of this on the network?
Me and my brother,
because I have nothing to watch tonight.
Me and my brother have done some stupid shit while wrestling.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, so have I. Me and my brother have done some pretty stupid shit too.
I think the reason
when I was about 13
is when I got put in a lion tamer once, and I don't think my spine is right.
What is your story, Si?
When I was about 13, a friend of mine suplexed me. I took a full-on suplex onto my bed, broke the bed. All four legs just went.
Now, I have a suplex story, and it is WrestleMania 28.
Okay.
Yeah, 28. It is Kane versus Randy Orton.
Not a good match.
Me and my brother are having a wrestling match in our living room. We brought the mattress out into the living room. I get him up to the top of the couch. I get up there, and we do a superplex off the couch onto the bed.
Yeah.
And I say onto the bed very lightly, as everything shoulder height hit the bed. My head slammed on the floor, and Devin missed the bed completely. We both
me and my mate Big Andy a few years ago were really drunk and having a wrestling match in the back room, and we put all the couch cushions down on the floor. Because we had like 4 couches, we just put all the cushions down on the floor. There was loads of them, and he gave me a Dominator, and my knee went straight in between the couch cushions and just slammed into the concrete and carpet. Couldn't walk right for weeks. Yeah, couldn't walk right for weeks.
Maddie, I'm not sure what territories you and Devin have worked, but man, they got to. I don't think you guys have been properly shown how to take bumps.
Oh no, me and Devin know how to take bumps.
Neither one of you are physically. You're young men, but you walk like you're Tarzan's grandfather.
Oh yeah, no. Brandon's the one person in public to see me walk like I do. I am a fucking 65-year-old man in a 24-year-old body.
And I'm like, this kid's 10 years younger than me, and he looks worse than I do, and that's saying something.
Oh, I do not have
but Brandon,
stamina.
You're like 2 years younger than me, and I look better than you do.
I can't deny this.
To be fair, you look like Tony Schiavone, and Tony Schiavone is a savant. So
yeah,
this is true. It's the
we
beard.
just need to get you in it. We just need to get you in a turtleneck, Nick. Get you that full Christian Cage.
The best thing on AEW television right now,
100%.
Christian Cage.
His heel promo work is so good, isn't it?
Now you're making your brother look like the sober one. What a line!
To be fair, Christian, at first I was like, oh, he kind of stepped the line with the dad thing. But, you know, he's saying the things that a genuine asshole would say to your face.
And that's why
to try to get you to swing.
Exactly.
To try to get you to fight him.
And
he's got
I love the fact that they've
to back him up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I love the fact that they've rejuvenated Luchasaurus, made him interesting, giving him Kane-like music, and he's the new Tomko to Christian, isn't he?
That whole line about the brother, that may be his sunny days.
That's pinnacle. That is pinnacle. You're making your brother look like the sober one. Jesus fucking Christ.
It's so good. Edge and Christian, the pair of them have always been so good at making people despise them. Like, if they really want you to, you will absolutely hate the bastards. And I appreciate that in good heel work.
But the thing is, Christian's been so damn underrated since 2000 and what was it? 2011 he had the rivalry with Randy Orton.
Yeah, 2011.
And that was around about the time that people started respecting him as a singles person.
Yep.
They're finally starting to respect him again. 11 years fucking later.
Well, the stupid thing about AEW at the moment is he's got people like William Regal, Christian Cage, Samoa Joe. These guys could be a fantastic booking committee for Tony Khan to tell him no when he comes up with a crap idea. And instead, he's got them doing bit pieces on television.
That is the best spot that Ric Flair's ever done, and nobody does it like him.
Yeah.
Nope. Triple H has tried and done it for years.
Cody tries it. Charlotte tries it. Nobody does it like Rick.
Nobody does.
Now,
I think 5 minutes left, I think.
There is a difference between...
Flair's tumble.
There's a different way between Hunter and Flair, because Hunter will hit the ropes, grab it, and then just go over the top. Flair will hit over the top and then walk the side and then hit.
Yeah.
So,
Jim Ross is losing his mind.
I'd also like to point out this is a 45-minute match, and Ric Flair isn't bleeding yet.
I don't think he gets color.
I don't think he does bleed in this one.
Well, also it was on TBS. It wasn't and they
don't really have a choice.
Yeah,
and both of these men are like
Flair just
now that they're showing their wear throughout the match.
Well, they paced it right so that they've got that extra oomph here towards the end.
No sell, staying bang.
God,
the look on Flair's face after he sits up on that punch is like, for God's sake.
1 minute remaining. Oh, sunset flip. Sting's he's gotta get it on him. He is a Scorpion Deathlock away from being the new NWA World Champion. Oh, a classic back rake. Which
I've got to give a shout out
levels. Hogan's Hollywood
as well, and
are just perfect.
Oh yeah.
If you guys can hear how passionate Jim Ross is.
Yes.
I know he had his health issues and whatever, but anything before '93, he was so good.
I think
he and Tony Schiavone both were sports announcers before they got into wrestling.
Yeah.
They knew how to inflex that voice when the moment is coming. You don't get that with Michael Colebrick or Brick Cole or Brick Brain or whatever it is.
I will say, I really have enjoyed what Cole and Pat McAfee have been doing on SmackDown.
Oh,
McAfee's great.
Pat's fantastic.
If Vince was not yelling in Michael Cole's ear, and hopefully he's not here soon, but Michael Cole, whenever he's allowed to do him
perfect example, I know I brought it up before, the UK tournament from Blackpool where Michael Cole commentates. He is fantastic on that show.
Go listen to Tommy N versus Neville. Go listen to Tommy N versus Neville, and that is his best match that he called.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Man.
Interestingly, there's a rumor now that the I don't know if you guys have heard, the NXT UK Championship has been vacated due to an injury to Dragunov, and there's a rumor that the tournament might actually finish with a championship match at the Clash in the Castle show.
Well, you'd be wrong, because do you want to know who the new champion is?
Yeah, I was about to say, unfortunately, it's been already spoiled.
Yeah, I already know who the new champion is.
It's already
Tyler Bate.
Don't tell me.
Right, well, they've already crowned a new champion, my friend.
I cannot wait for that Castle show because I know all my brothers in the UK at WrestleBuddy are just going to be just slobbering over themselves. Yeah,
You two, are you guys going?
Couldn't afford the tickets, unfortunately.
Are they already sold out, or should we send you guys money?
No, I looked into getting us a few tickets because there's 4 of us that normally hang out, and for 4 of us to get tickets, not even on the ground, on the middle tier towards the back, you were looking at over £1,000, which is what, like $1,700 for 4 seats. Crazy prices.
So that's for 4, though, yeah?
Yeah.
How much for you 2?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'd be like £500. If it was
about
1,000
500 quid.
Yeah.
So about $800?
Yeah.
It's crazy money. It's like WrestleMania prices for a not WrestleMania quality show.
I know Andy's going.
I'm not gonna lie. It was actually really cheap to go to the Rumble. And me and Captain, if it's in San Antonio or Florida, we might be trying to go to that, try to catch up with Jimmy.
Yeah,
I've heard San Antonio is the leading candidate right now, but I've also heard that Miami is the second on the list if they decide to go Rock and Roman, because Rock's from Miami.
45 seconds remaining. Big stinger splash in the corner.
It's in Miami. He shows up and wins the Rumble. Can you imagine the pop he would get if he just arrived at the Rumble like that?
Yeah, but Cody's winning the Rumble, dude.
He has to. Scorpion Deathlock.
45 seconds.
Just watch Flair hang in there.
It's just like what Brett and Shawn did in that last minute of the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12. Shawn just hung in there, wouldn't tap.
Now the thing with Sting is he sat down so deep in that Scorpion Deathlock. And it's the same thing with Brett. That's why they were so believable with it.
Yeah.
Well, the main difference between the way Sting does it and the way Brett does it is Brett's sharpshooter gets you back more than it gets your legs.
Right.
The Scorpion gets your legs more than it gets you back.
Because he sits more on like your ass. Brett is sitting on your back.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like normal Boston Crabs and the way that Jericho does the Walls of Jericho.
Yeah.
Because
Rick Martel's Boston Crab versus Jericho. Yeah.
Yeah, you're up higher.
I used to love the old lion tamer.
Now, putting the knee in the back of the neck is so fucking intense.
I got the hat. It says lion tamer on it. Lights up. I got it at Harrods. That's an anteater, not a lion.
Now, there's a little bit of color on Flair. Not the most, but a little bit.
That was as much as he could get away with, say it was accidental.
And now we go to our expert panel of judges.
Our expert panel of judges.
The star of the Wonder Years.
If it had been the little brother from the Wonder Years, what's his name? Fred Savage.
Fred Savage.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been as bad, would it? Yeah, he was the star of the show.
Who the hell knows with this? I don't even want to. That is nuts. Well, that was Sting and Flair.
Yes, it was.
My God, that match just?
I haven't seen that. Makes me sad. I haven't seen it for about 20 years. Still a fantastic match.
I was about to say that was phenomenal.
It's just, as I said, that is the blueprint on how a Broadway should be. There has never been a time limit draw executed as well as that match. The pacing, the timing, the general facials on both men, the selling, everything they do in that match is telling a story. There's no wasted motion. There's no moves for the sake of doing moves. As we always say on the channel, less is more. And this match is living proof that less is more. It's so good. Sting's face now, he's so annoyed and just gutted and disappointed that the judges didn't vote for him. This moment drives him for an entire, 3 years? 2 years to grind his way back to Flair. Yeah. To get this match through injury, through hardship, through heartache, and then he wins the title. That is long-term storytelling at its finest.
And that pop he gets at Great American Bash 90 when he beats Flair, they did a lot of events at the Baltimore Arena. I've never seen that arena pop more than when Sting.
No, that was, as they say, a Road Warrior pop.
Yeah.
That was a Road Warrior pop. He deserved it as well. Like, he'd earned that so hard. Coming back from the ACL, the 5 months out, and he came back early from that leg injury as well, and the show that he puts in. But it's like he's still in the ring pacing now because he's so gutted, he's so disappointed, he can't believe it's over. He just wants the match to continue. Give me 5 more minutes and I could have had him beat.
Yeah.
But he didn't have those extra 10 seconds. It's so well done. Everything about that match is just put together to perfection, and I'm so glad I got to watch it again today with my friends, because I don't get to watch these things very often. My brother doesn't really like watching the dead old school stuff, so it's been a great pleasure today, and I've really been happy to be here. And I just want to say, if anybody has enjoyed the product, if you like what we do here at WrestleBuddy, if you love the content that we try and put out, please like, share, and subscribe this video. It's free for you, it's a massive help for us, and it's the only way the YouTube algorithm even realizes we exist.
Yep. I don't think I couldn't top Nick's finish on that. And that's pretty much exactly. Yeah. Nick said it all on that one. We're
just look how happy this man is.
Yeah.
Look how happy he is. We're all getting to witness
so
this passion, this enjoyment of what is a fantastic match from a fantastic product. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching along with us, because it's a pleasure. I haven't seen it for 20 years. It's still as good as it was.
I would love to tell the Arn Anderson, Tony Schiavone joke right now, but I'd get canned if I did. Maddie, kind of, being the young gun here, I'll let you put in your thoughts before we kind of wind things up. We're running a little bit over time, but hey, we went Broadway, so screw it.
Yeah, this, like Nick said, this is definitely, you can definitely see the way that all of the Broadways have gone. The Lesnar versus Angle, Okada versus Omega, Brett versus Michaels. They all took pages out of this match. And albeit this match was only 45 minutes as opposed to those 60-plus minute matches, you get that same feeling of once they get to that, 5 minutes and they start counting down, things start getting more intense. Things start getting faster paced. And even with the 30-minute Broadway that Omega and Bryan Danielson did, you still had that frenetic pace whenever those final minutes were counting down.
And these guys could have easily gone 60. It was 45 because it was a television event.
Oh, yeah.
They could have easily
if there wasn't
15 minutes in there.
If there wasn't the time constraints, this match could have easily done the 60 minutes, and Flair would have gotten the color that he probably wanted. But
he would.
All in all,
if the match would have happened a few years later in the Bischoff era, I mean, how many times did we see matches with Austin and Pillman, or Austin and Johnny B. Bad, or even Pillman and Johnny B. Bad?
Rhodes.
Yeah.
Where there were 30-minute matches and they ended up adding an extra 5 minutes, sometimes twice. And that would have happened a few years later. But it didn't need it. You don't always need a winner. You don't always need a
You don't always need
finish.
to know what
Sometimes the story is in the draw. Yeah.
Pretty much.
This match was an excellent masterclass on how that your long matches, whether or not they go to time limit draw, this is how your matches should be structured. And I'm so glad to have been able to join you guys and watch this match with you. And Nick, I can totally see why this is the match that made you love wrestling when you did.
Yep.
It's that good. I don't understand. I cannot fathom any wrestling fan that doesn't enjoy this match. Fuck off. I've got no interest in you. I don't want to know you.
Stop, man. Nick, why don't you say what you really mean?
I've got no time for you at all. Get out of the chat. Get out of the comment section. If you didn't enjoy this match, you're a miserable human being. This is the finest example of what a wrestling match is supposed to be. That's why I love it so much. It's a good guy versus a bad guy. It's a heel versus a babyface. It's a scumbag versus a punk.
And it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
No shenanigans.
No, there's no
There's
shenanigans.
absolutely no
Didn't need it.
bullshit from the Horsemen.
I-
No bullshit from any of the baby faces.
No.
This
Nope.
is bad guy versus good guy, one-on-one.
It is
Classic.
wrestling
Yep.
in its purest form, and that's all I care about.
I'm seeing Nick tomorrow. We're going to go and catch a new movie tomorrow, and
Yes, we are.
you're still going to be talking about this, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
That
Probably
smile
boring
that
my
is
dad
gonna
half
be-
to death because he doesn't watch wrestling anymore.
That smile is going to have to be surgically removed. Yeah, and it's been a pleasure for me I've seen this match many times. I love it, but getting to watch it with you guys and our wonderful fans here in the chat, it's been a pure pleasure. And next time on the table, we're gonna do something very similar. We're gonna see Flair and Steamboat at Wrestle War '89, and if you enjoyed this, man, Flair and Steamboat, holy schmoligans. Oh,
Equally as good.
I'm
In
gonna be
different
Nick
ways.
next. The next episode, I'm gonna be Nick. That's gonna be me smiling.
Yeah, it is.
So, for everyone, Maddie, Cy, Nick, everybody that joined us in the chat, the whole Wrestle Buddy Network, we love you guys. And as I like to say, we'll see you a little further on up the road. And I think this is the part where we wave.
Bye.
See you later, guys.
Adios. Alex, fall asleep.